Hi, I'm Keith. I do Star Trek fan fiction. Welcome to my channel. I have a very timely, brand new one I just wrote up for you. If you like this channel, please subscribe. I'm doing this in one take, so if I screw up, I screw up. Captain's log, stardate 3432. En route to the pleasure moon Theos 2, the Enterprise, for unknown reasons, changed course, and an alert was issued for all senior staff to meet in the conference room for a meeting with Starfleet. What in the blazes is going on? McCoy asked. He was annoyed, like usual. I have no idea, Captain Kirk replied. Neither do I, Spock replied. This is quite unusual behavior for Starfleet. The screen on the conference room table lit up with a prompt from Starfleet showing the logo on a black background. Then the image of Admiral Simmons appeared with an unpleasant expression on his face. Welcome, crew of the Enterprise. I'm Admiral Simmons, Chief Executive Officer and Commander of the Starfleet. I come to you bearing news you will most likely find unpleasant, but needs to be relayed to you. What is it? Kirk asked. I have no pleasure in reporting to you that Starfleet, in a cost-cutting measure, has decided to eliminate 5 of our Federation Constitution-class starships, including the Enterprise. As of now, you have all been terminated from your positions, and the Enterprise will be returned to Starbase 3 and sold for scrap. McCoy spoke up. You've got to be kidding. No, Doctor. Times are tough, and we are all feeling the crunch. As a physician, you should have no problem finding work. As for the rest of you, I wish you luck in your futures. We have taken control over the Enterprise, and in 3 days we'll dock at Starbase 3, where your crew will disembark. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but that is the way it has to be. Signing out, Admiral Simmons. This can't be real, McCoy said, dumbfounded. Oh, yes, it can, Spock replied. Starfleet has been the target of reduction for years, and it was a matter of time before cuts were made. We can't let them do this, McCoy said. What choice do we have? Kirk replied. What kind of a job will an out-of-work starship captain find? McCoy asked. I don't know, Kirk replied, shaking his head in disbelief. Scotty, always thinking like an engineer, said, I know what we can do. We can disengage the warp drive. How would that help? Kirk asked. They can't haul us back to Starbase 3 without power, Scott replied. And we would be stranded in space, Spock replied. How would that better our situation? It would buy us some time to find a real solution, Scott replied. You would turn us into pirates, Spock stated as a fact, and I personally am not interested in the theft of Starfleet property. Of course not. You can find a job anywhere. What about our crew? Scott asked. I cannot be responsible for the outcomes of our crew, Spock replied. What a cold-hearted bastard, Scott replied. Is there a way to disengage the warp drive without Starfleet knowing why? Kirk asked. Maybe it can look like a mechanical breakdown. Not really, Scott replied. They have the same readouts we do. If we disengage, we would have to own it. Sounds to me like we're all free agents, and the Enterprise is up for sale. Why not sell it to the highest bidder while we still have control? McCoy said. What control? Spock asked. We can do what Scott said and disengage the warp drive. Then we can have an auction and sell the Enterprise to the highest bidder, McCoy said. I'm sure Starfleet planned to strip the ship down before putting it for sale, or parting it out, Spock replied. They will not sell the ships with Starfleet technology included. Think I care? McCoy asked. They just sold us out. I say we sell them out. What do you think, Captain? Scott asked. Rubbing his chin in thought, Kirk replied, Why not? What do we have to lose? Theft of Starfleet property would land you and us in prison, Spock replied. Not if they can't find us, Kirk replied. What do you mean? Spock asked. Maybe I could go work for the Klingons, Kirk replied. You would be a traitor, Scott snapped. I'm a free agent, Kirk snapped back, thanks to Starfleet and their cost-cutting measures. What about the rest of the crew? Do you think the Klingons would hire them as well? We won't know unless we ask, Kirk replied. Most likely, they will send us all to prison camps or kill us outright, Scott replied. You best be filling out your resumes then, because you'll be competing with a lot of other crew members who lost their jobs. I personally would rather take my chances with the Klingons. What about the Vulcans, Spock? Are they hiring? Kirk asked. Only if you're a Vulcan. I have like 60 of these on this channel. If you want to see some more really awesome Star Trek fan fiction that I wrote, just go down my playlist. And thanks for showing up.